You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Most options trading platforms are commission-free, and there are some that don't charge per-contract fees. Public.com goes a step further. When you trade options on Public, there are no commissions, no per-contract fees, and you get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. That means it costs less than $0 per transaction. In other words, instead of paying to place options trades, you literally earn money, and that money can add up fast. If you trade 1,000 option contracts on Public, you'll earn up to $180 in rebates. 10,000 contracts? Up to almost $1,200. It's pretty obvious why NerdWallet recently gave options trading on Public 5 out of 5 stars. Because Public really stands out for the cost of its options trades. Their words, not ours. If you want to start paying less than $0 to trade options, check out Public.com and get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. Paid for by Public Investing. Options not suitable for all investors and carry significant risk. Full disclosures in podcast description. U.S. members only. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back from the weekend, fresh, rested, and raring to go. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the THE, OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you crazy folks are binging and mainlining these days. Hey, have at it. The more, the merrier. Over a lot of you coming in on the YouTube side these days, you may have seen some rejiggering going on over there. We're, migrating content. Google Podcast doesn't exist anymore. Got to migrate it over to YouTube Music. In the process, that's moving some stuff over to our YouTube channel. So it's been kind of interesting. It's been republishing some of our older content as it's going through the feed. And it's like, oh, wait, I remember that episode. A lot of you were saying that too, which is kind of fun. Oh, yeah, that one's pretty cool. So it's kind of fun. So you might be seeing some stuff popping up there that you're like, wow, I haven't seen or heard of that in some time. Or if you're one of our newer listeners, maybe ever. So again, we have quite the back catalog of content there. So check out the YouTube if you haven't already. It's an intriguing way to get the content out there. And speaking of getting stuff, if you want to get more good stuff in your lives, only one place to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. You'll be getting all of our fun stuff from OIC, which our editors are diligently cutting together as we speak. They hate me. They hate OIC week, especially because it's a lot of work for them. But you know what? We like you folks at the end of the day. We do it for you. So that stuff all getting cut together. That'll be hitting the pro first. If you want to join the party for yourselves, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. In fact, I do believe, yes, it is early May. So we are now legally obligated to give away the pro trading crate for the month of April. I think we'll get there in a second. But first, it is time to commence our broadcast week the way we are wont to do, with a little bit of 80s wrestling trivia. Actually, no, that's old school. 80s general trivia. There we go. I should have thrown a wrestling question in. That would really have gummed up the works. That would really confuse the heck out of them. We are joined now, listeners, by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw, our reigning champion, and also man firmly in the lead right now. I believe by about 3 or more points. I'll have to go check the exact totals in our 80s trivia game. And also by the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Gentlemen, get your hands on your buzzers because it is now time to prove your mettle, as they say. All right, last night was the now, I guess, infamous roast of Tom Brady. They brought back a roast. They did it on Netflix. They did it for Tom Brady. And let's just say the content filters were off. A surprise. I guess, roasts have always been a little, shall we say, risque. This one dovetailing a little bit to the blue out there, but intriguing stuff nonetheless. People apparently, it's trending. People seem to, I guess, like it or not like it. I don't know. It's getting a lot of response, which I guess is the point of these things at the end of the day. But that's neither here nor there. It just kind of inspired our question for this week. Because back in the 80s, when I was a wee lad cheering on my Patriots over there in southern New England, they went to the Super Bowl in 1985 against a team, I don't know, maybe the greatest team of all time, the 85 Chicago Bears. So they kind of had bad luck on that front. And as I was watching that game back in, actually it would be in 86, obviously, for the Super Bowl from the 85 season, what quarterback was I cheering on for the Patriots? Ooh, it was a close one. Close one. Tosaw just making it in. Man, Andrew right in there, though. You might have a chance. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. Who was the Patriots quarterback, sir?
There were two of them in that game. The starter was Champagne Tony Eason out of the University of Illinois.
Yes.
And then when he got the crap kicked out of him by the 85 Bear defense, they put in Grogan as backup.
Yes. Wow. I should give you bonus points for that. 1 point for Uncle Mike because you're already too far ahead.
I was not close.
Who were you going to say, Mister? I saw you buzz in pretty quickly.
Yeah, I for some reason I thought it was Drew Bledsoe. Wasn't he a Patriot quarterback?
Oh, he was.
He was later on.
Later on, though, like 90 or late 90s.
I remember
early 2000s,
now Grogan.
93, he got
I
drafted.
remember that way back. Yeah. So
yes.
Yeah, I had no shot.
I was surprised you thought you buzzed in, though. I'm going to make the notes here for Tony Eason. Yes, a name you don't hear a lot. And Steve Grogan. Those are my Patriots quarterbacks. Forget about these, 20 Super Bowls or whatever, Patriot era. That's not, my Patriots are 1-15 and they get murked by the Chicago Bears as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, listen, did you get that? Did you get that one? I'm curious. A little bit of fun trivia out there. A young kid of me would never imagined living in Chicago, let alone rooting for the Bears, even though I'm kind of lukewarm on the Bears right now. They cut my fields, but that's a conversation for another day entirely, listeners. Instead, let's go around the horn. Let's go out to the markets. How are we kicking off this week? And it seems like, all the concerns, all the stuff that drove us below 5,000 not too long ago, like a week ago. It's all that's in the rearview mirror, listeners. S&P rallying again, up nearly 0.2%, a little over 30-odd handles. The Dow, the laggard of the bunch today, up about 0.2%. The NASDAQ, of course, taking the bit in its teeth, up almost 0.75%. And then, deciding to say, pshaw to all you kids. Small caps up 1.25% today. So definitely an Uncle Mike type of day. Vol, as you might imagine, coming in from our Thursday show at about 13.75. So still hanging out at pretty much the exact same level it was on Vol Views on Friday. So not coming down a lot from Friday, but coming down from Thursday about 1.5 points. We did see a lot of Vol coming off between Thursday and Friday last week, though. And VVIX back down to about a 74, down about 6 points from the Thursday show. So again, starting to be some interesting levels. Is VIX going to hang out here? Is VVIX going to hang out here? Or if past his prologue, VVIX has bounced off of this mid-70 handle quite a few times. So will this be another repeat performance? Or it is May now, dare I say it. Scary time. Maybe we're just going to languish here for a little bit. Uncle Mike, You are our winner, so you get to go first today. Before we do that, sir, really quickly, it is time to give away our April Pro Trading Crate. So I have set the random number generator spinning, sir. When you tell me to stop, you will choose our winner for April. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
All right, have at it. The floor is yours. You can do it now. You can do it after yours. Whatever the spirit feels. Just give me a little bit of a warning so I can hit the button.
I'm not going to do what Sebastian did to you that one time where he just randomly did it like 30 minutes later.
Yeah,
so
that was fun.
So, all right, you ready, Mark?
I am ready.
Buzz.
All right, let's see. Who did Uncle Mike? And again, if you didn't win, don't blame me. Blame Uncle Mike. Send your hate mail to him. Who did you pick? Oh, this is one of our longtime members and a very active member of the Pro, our old buddy, Mr. Age Del Aquarius, always chiming in on Twitter, always chiming in our lives and our Pro Q&As. I do believe, if history is correct, this is his second. He's won twice now. Wow, good for him. A very lucky fella. It just shows you, listeners, you stay in the Pro and the winnings can continue to stack up. So congratulations.
He gets a box?
Oh, yeah.
Agent Del Aquarius?
Yeah. But, you know,
wow.
in all deference, I like him a lot more than I like you. So there we go. That's how it plays out.
I'm still waiting for my box, although I did get a mic. Just
go sign up on the Pro. It's easy to do. You get your name in the hat like everybody else over there. So, Mr. Age, you are a lucky fellow. Our producers have your info already. We'll reach out to you. Maybe we'll give you a little extra because it is your second time winning. You've been in the Pro for a little bit. Maybe you get a super trading crate for Mr. Age. But congratulations. Like to see the longtime members out there winning as well. He's asked us a few times if we're ever going to do the Elephant and Castle live show that we did way back in the early days of this show, when we had Shelly Natenberg in the audience and stuff. He's asked about that, so maybe we'll have to revisit that. That's how long he's been listening. So there you go. Again, that's why I like him more than you, Andrew. I think he predates you on the network, me, in terms of listening anyway. So goes back a ways. We love our longtime members. Well chosen, Mr. Uncle Mike. All right, now, sir, the floor is yours. It is very much an Uncle Mike type of day. What is catching your eye, sir?
Well, are you going to ask me about the 85 Patriots and Tony Eason?
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Have at it, sir.
All right. So just so everyone knows, like my true fanhood, I grew up a diehard Chicago Bear fan, of course, growing up in the Chicago area. I still have the words to the Super Bowl shuffle memorized. However, the Bears didn't give me a shot. They said I wasn't a legitimate NFL prospect, so they didn't even invite me to their local rookie day tryout. The Bills did. So I am now a fan of two teams, the Bills and whoever plays the Bears. But who's bitter? Not me, of course. But in terms of the 85 Bears and Patriots, I'll talk a little bit about the Patriots today. Not a lot of people hear about the 85 Patriots, but I have a little bit of knowledge about them. Number one, they had one of the arguably the greatest offensive linemen of all time on their team, and John Hanna. Not a lot of people know that. They also had, excuse me, they had Craig James, who is half of the Pony Express at SMU, along with Eric Dickerson, considered one of the greatest college backfields of all time. They also had, who else did they have? Tony Franklin. I believe he was the first ever $1 million kicker in pro football history. Don't quote me on that. That's just a speculation. I think that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure. And then they had, I believe, their star linebacker, Andre Tippett, I believe. And they were a wild card team going into the Super Bowl. And a lot of people wanted the Dolphins to beat them in the championship game. So that way it would be a rematch between the Bears and the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. Because as a lot of football historians may know, the Dolphins are the only team to beat the Bears that year to keep them from going undefeated, ironically protecting them being the only undefeated ever back in 1972 when they went 17-0. On top of that, I actually got to be mentored in a weird situation by Jim Riley, who was a member of that 72 Dolphin team. So I can say that I've actually worn, he let me do it. He let me wear his 72 Super Bowl ring. So that's a bunch of totally useless and odd trivia for you going into the trading block. What do we think about that?
Uncle Mike, a font of 85 bats knowledge. Who knew? You knew more than I did. And I was a fan of the team back then. Wow. Very
That's how
impressive.
much of a diehard Bear fan I was back in the day, as I know that just because the Bears played them. And, well, I mean, in terms of them getting rid of Fields, I mean, I personally hope the franchise folds. They're that evil of an organization.
You know, I'm starting to lean your way, sir. So, yeah, if they implode of their own malice, then hold them accountable.
Well, they have such a long history of taking good quarterbacks and making them bad. So you can't really fault them for that. That's just what they do. And on a sad note, not many people know this, but I'm involved in the Chicago NFLPA players chapter for the retired players, and I'm the treasurer. And one of our brethren passed away over the weekend, Bobby Avellini, the quarterback before Jim McMahon. He passed away, so condolences to the Avellini family on a serious note. With that being said, let's talk about these markets. A couple of things. We are kind of in what I like to refer to as a Van Halen type of market with the S&P. We're sticking around the 5150 level. True Van Halen fans will understand what that means. On top of that, and I saw something even earlier today that you'll love, NVIDIA was actually in a state of emergency. Did you guys know that?
Did not. What happened?
Their stock price was at 911 for a while. I'll be here all day.
You got all the jokes, all the knowledge. You had some good coffee this morning, sir.
No kidding. So, I mean, with this market right now, we're extending on Friday's rally is what's happening at this stage. In looking at it, we are 100 points off of our all-time high that we made a little over a month ago in late March. And our low, we dipped below the 5,000 mark a couple weeks ago, but we came right back up through it. So 5,000 is proving to be a key number with where we are. 10-year note, the yield is holding right around the 4.5% level. So we're not getting a lot of movement in the bond space. One thing is that I'm noticing about this from the bond world is that after the Fed announcement, when they said we're probably not going to do anything, we did get a little bit of a rally from that, but we're not getting a ton of a rally on it. So it seems like bonds are still content to be where they are for the time being. Keep an eye on them as well, because with bonds, they can come out in strange places at strange times, no doubt about that. Apple is back above the 180 mark based on earnings last week, or the earnings announcement from since the last time that our show was on the air. So we do have some movement in Apple. They are down 1% on the day, but they are back above the 180 level. Still off of their all-time highs. They're still, I don't know if they're going to be making a run at 200 anytime soon again, but they are there. Microsoft has recovered very nicely from its slump that it's had. It's back around the 410 level today. So we are getting a lot of recovery in a lot of the stocks that were predominant in creating this rally to begin with, and also creating this pullback. So we're getting there, and it looks like the pullback has happened and buyers are coming in. I'll be here all day if anyone needs any more 85 Patriots knowledge.
You are. You should be the head of the 85 Patriots fan club. You have some detailed information, sir. And now we go out to the man who almost buzzed in first. I was kind of surprised he was that close. I wonder what he would have said. I guess we'll never know. Listen, it's lost to the primordial ooze out there. Mr. Rock Lobster, if you wanted to share your guess, I think, you said Drew Bledsoe. That's right. And then, which was, about a decade or so later, but, not bad. At least it was the right team. And then, B, sir, what is catching your eye out there to kick off the week?
I just would like for this trivia contest to find subjects, something that Tosaw is not an expert in besides 80s wrestling and 80s Patriots. I believe the whole deck is totally stacked.
The rest of the year, nothing but woodworking, 80s woodworking implements. There you go.
That's there we go. What was the, what wood tool changed woodworking in the 80s? Okay.
We'll throw a little Maine trivia in there, mix it up, be good.
The miter box.
Well,
miter box. Okay, there you go.
What's funny is I saw this great tweet today, about Apple. And they're like, wow, Steve Jobs was a great technology engineer, right? Solving, you think about it, Apple didn't invent the cell phone, didn't invent the mobile player device, didn't invent the PC, but they certainly improved them beyond, measure, how all those delivery devices. The iPad, again, that was basically just a big phone. But certainly improving this technology. And then Tim Cook, I guess he's kind of the master of financial engineering. We've had really no, what I would say, earth-shattering tech. Those goggles that they put out were kind of dopey, but not like Apple moving into an industry and kind of upending the industry like they have in the past. And they're spending $110 billion. And in the very same weekend, like you almost can't write this story. So Warren Buffett is starting to trim because his Apple investment was huge, right? He basically bought it when we had that technology wreck in 2016, if you guys recall. I even bought some Apple back then. I have almost none of it left anymore. But so he's saying, okay, we've reduced our stake in the first quarter. And his stake is like 49% of his portfolio is Apple because it just was such a massive winner. But now you look at it and you're like, oh, well, what do they do? They're going to spend $100 billion on buybacks. Like this is, and I think Apple, as far as being nice to their shareholders, is definitely, one of the companies that they're, paying dividends and buying stock back, but their revenues haven't really increased in a couple of years. So they're kind of living on a multiple, they're living on a pretty high multiple relative to their sales growth at this point. I mean, iPhone sales were down. So I don't know how long it can last. Again, it's a great company that has a great franchise. But like from, where does it go from a $3 trillion market cap? So, but I just found it funny that, Warren Buffett is exiting and he's using, when you think about it, Apple buying back shares is basically his exit liquidity at this point. So, you have the bet where Warren Buffett's selling to Tim Cook. I think you want Warren Buffett's side. So anyway, I'm sure he'll keep a stake in it, pays a big dividend. He'll keep a chunk for sure, but I can't see him keeping his portfolio up to, whatever, 40% of his equity portfolio is all Apple. So he'll probably dump, I don't know, he's obviously a smarter guy than I am, but he'll probably dump, 10, 15% of it every quarter now. Until they get it down to a reasonable number, because the reason for them being there is not there anymore. They're not growing. So you got, I think that's, and what's amazing is Apple is down today, and Apple is up $10 on Friday on the buyback, right? Basically the buyback, that's it. And Apple today is down. Wow, it's kind of in a free fall at this point. Now it's down, and I put out a trade to my subscribers. I bought some Apple put calendars, the 175s, and they're getting closer. Getting closer. But Apple is down, but the rest of the market is up. Now, I did see some news about some truce in Gaza, or Hamas has accepted some kind of ceasefire that was proposed. I don't think the Israelis have yet, but we'll see what happens. But that would be, I would say, that could take a little chunk out of the VIX as well. That could send stocks higher for sure. We're 40 points from 5,200 now. So how do we not get there? So I think we got those factors are kind of, let's just call them swirling around. But the market rallying on the back of Apple is slowly giving away, but the rest of the stocks are making a move. So, and then we have, I guess, Palantir earnings tonight. So we have VIX is trading the lowest level that has in the last 30 days. So clearly the market is getting past the Israeli Hamas thing, even if the college campuses aren't exactly. And it is looking at that kind of rosy scenario, but the Same thing. The government spending is not going away, and at least for right now, Treasury yields are kind of they're sort of holding steady. But unless somebody kind of does something here, I don't see how the government's going to fund themselves in the next 24 months. But at the current pace that they're going. But the market doesn't seem to care, at least today. So we got day 2 of relief rally on the what I would just call weak jobs report.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. You're right. That to me was a surprisingly obvious shell game that Apple was playing too. Like, our numbers are terrible. What can we do? Well, we're sitting on a mountain of cash. Why don't we buy some back? I get the near-term economic impact of that. Of course, is going to go up. You're buying a ton of it. You're taking a bunch of it off the market. Makes sense. But yeah, if I was a long-term Apple bull, I would be, I think, a little bit concerned by that. It seems like a very, very obvious. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Look at this massive pile of $100 billion right here. So yeah, I hate to be the resident skeptic, but that one certainly kind of made my eyebrow arch up as well. In fact, Mr. Rock Lobster, it's an interesting question, so we threw it out there. Fun little flash poll for our audience right now. Which side of that trade would they rather be on? Tim Cook buying Apple or Warren Buffett selling Apple? Just went live, so we'll see. But it's a little bit of flash.
I like that. I like that one. I think that's
right. Now, 100% of them want to sell it. They want to be like Warren Buffett. So we shall see out there, listeners. Get out there, add options. If you're listening after the podcast, we'll let it run throughout the day. It won't be our question of the week, but it'll be a flash poll for the day. So you guys can get out there if you're listening after the fact, too. But fascinating stuff going on out there. Is all this fascinating stuff contributing to some volume in SEB market? The answer is yeah. I mean, it kind of depends where you're looking, as it usually does. But still, a bit of a banger day out there. VIX looking pretty active right now. Over 600K on the tape right now. 617 to be precise. That gets us, again, against an ADV of 934. So pretty action-packed day, I'd say, out there in VIX. The big dog, if you're wondering, 76,000 of the AUG 25 calls and 76,000 as well of the AUG 15 puts. Do we have a little bit of we have a collar going up. Look at this. You don't see a lot of collars in VIX. AUG 15 25 collar paying $1.27 for the 15 puts, selling the 25 calls for 86 cents. So doing that, obviously the 15 put is a wee bit juicier. So they're paying for that. They're paying 41 cents for the privilege. Interesting. You like that, listeners? Also worth noting, looks like we got 16 puts going up as well, but that's a separate trade. That didn't go up with the other one. Actually, no, it went up at the same time. So it looks like a 15, there's a bunch of stuff going up 1105. Might have a 16 synthetic, and then the puts. Oh, maybe we got a lot of juice going up out here. We'll have to parse it more, perhaps, on vol views on Friday. But looks like the meat of it is a collar. And then against that, they may have also done the synthetic on the 16 strike, buying the 16 put, selling the 16 call, but doing it again, it's all on funky ratios too. Nothing is 1-to-1. So I'll have to sit back and price it up and look at the volume, but interesting. Just the collar side alone, you don't see a lot of that out there in VIX land. Not a use case we see, even though if you think about it, it makes some sense. The puts are usually fairly cheap. The calls are kind of bid. So if you wanted to go that route, it does make some sense. We don't see it too often, which is kind of interesting. All that a long way around. I got distracted, listeners. Got into the weeds. That's what vol views is for. Got to be careful when you bring up VIX volume. It could suck you down a rabbit hole. 617,000 on the tape. SPY right now, 5.3 million. So fully a million more than we expect this time of day. The ADV, a pretty robust 8.75 million. The S, 1.5 million. So a little light. We expect 1.75 million. The ADV, about 3.25 million out there. And then we've got IWM, 821,000. So again, a banger day for them. The ADV 1.41. So they're already well on their way. And the Q is kind of the laggard. And let's bring them up again right now to see if they put up any more volume since we've been talking. But 1.6 million when we last, we're still about that level. So that's actually surprisingly light. The Qs are usually north of 2, around 2.2, 2.25 million right now. The ADV is 4 million. So they got a ways to go to even get to halfway there. So surprising stuff. Is it a banger day on the single name front as well? Remember, we do have earnings season still popping off. The answer is kinda. It's a decent day. It's respectable. Let's kick things off in GameStop. If you haven't looked at GameStop in a while, you say, where's that one hanging out? About 14.75, off about 1.75 right now. or about 10%. So not exactly a banger day for GameStop out there. After, of course, having a decent week last week. I think to put it mildly, it was trading $11, shot up to about 16.5 last week, and now going back down, got down to about, looks like a little bit shy of $14 this morning before they, actually $13.62, before they rallied it back now to $14.84. So a wild week and change out there for GameStop. All that leading into 226,000 contracts on the tape for Game. Man, we're kicking it off. It's like 2021 all over again. Game number 10, number 9, AMC. That one hanging out about 3.25 right now. Kind of unched on the day right now. Good for 233,000 contracts. So all the apes putting up some paper out there today. Number 8, the artist formerly known as Facebook, 459.25, up 7.25 for Meta today. Good for 238,000 contracts. And the number 8 spot, number 7. It's the Amazonians, listeners. 299,000. Amazon up $0.50, trading 186 and 3/4 out there today, listeners. So intriguing stuff on the Amazon front, aka the newest member of the Dow. You knew I had to sneak that one in there, listeners, from number 7. Number 6, out to crypto land. Uncle Mike, cover your ears. Marathon is banging today. 2092, up about $3.40, or nearly 20%. Again, I've said it before. We'll probably talk about it again on the crypto rundown later today. But this one is just all over the place. It's putting up some days VIX kind of numbers out there. Just serious volume, serious volatility. Whipsawing all over the place. Up to north of 30. Back to about 15, up to that level. I mean, all over the place between 15 and 30 the last few months. Definitely, if you're trading crypto, want a little bit of vol, Marathon has you covered today. 316,000 contracts. And the number 6 spot, number 5, going off to Techland, listeners. It's our old pal. It's AMD. 412,000 contracts. 155 even, up about $4.50, nearly 3%. So they're feeling a little bit of the love, a little bit of the lift out there today, listeners. Again, good for 412,000. And the number 5 spot, number 4, the Rock Lobster. Just talked about them. They're a Palantir, man. They're popping hard today. 25 even. Been a good week for Palantir. They were like 21 last week on Wednesday. Now up to $25, popping 2.25, almost 10% over the last week. 1.75 today, or 7.33%. So, yeah, they haven't even announced yet. They're after the bell. They're just off to the races out there in Palantir land. Good for 683,000 contracts on the tape in Palantir today. That's a bit of a banger out there, listeners. Number 4, Palantir. Number 3, we were just talking about them. You folks are debating them right now on our question of the week, or our our flash poll, our actual question of the week, a little bit farther reaching. But Apple right now, 180.5, off nearly $3 or 1.5%. So the market giveth and the market taketh away. It topped out last Friday at 186 2/3, back down about almost exactly $6 from that level now. So again, all this talk about when Buffett sells you, the street tends not to like it. Good for today, 784,000 contracts. And the number 3 spot, 2 and 1, you could probably guess if you've been doing this dance with us for a while. Number 2, NVIDIA, 882, 918 even, up, $30, or almost 3.5%. Good for number 2, 882,000. And number 1, you know what it is. It's the big dog. It is Tesla, 184.5, up 3 1/3. Man, what a resurgence they've had over the last week and change post earnings. Kind of a light day for them today, to only 1.15 million, which is usually expect them to be about 1.3, maybe 1.4 this time of day. But hey, they don't care. They're rallying. They're doing well out there. Let's see what else is doing well this week. It's a banger earnings week. Like we mentioned, Palantir after the bell. Berkshire today as well, as we were just talking about them earlier. Spirit Airlines, so the kings of the upsell. Oh, you want a seatbelt? That'll be another $200. Never again. I flew them by accident, and never again will I fly a Spirit in this modern upsell era. Terrible, terrible airline. Tuesday, we got the Diz. I heard they're moving up. They're moving up from after the bell to before the bell. So what does that portend, listeners, for earnings? Usually you're moving your announcement. You probably have something to say. So kind of interesting. What's afoot out there for Diz? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Crocs, Rubber Shoe Ball. Got Nikola tomorrow, and Rivian So I guess it's just the day of the also ran EVs out there. BP, Lyft, and Twilio tomorrow as well. Wednesday, Uber, Shopify, Robinhood. We had the folks from Robinhood on the network down at OIC. That'll be hitting it soon. Stay tuned to hear what they have to say about options. Kind of interesting. AMC and Beyond Meat on Wednesday. Thursday, Roblox, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Cedar Fair for a little bit of entertainment, amusement park ball. If you want to check all that out for yourselves, listeners, theoptionsinsider.com is the place to go. Click on the Options News and Articles tab to begin your journey to the dark side, but be warned, you will get sucked down the rabbit hole, just like I was into that VIX paper a little while ago. Meanwhile, it's time for us to keep on rolling and go into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
Everybody, let's do it. Let's commence operations out here in the land of the oddness, the weirdness, the funkadelic paper that is lighting up our tape. Let us unleash the Eye of Sauron, see what it returns to us, like a rabid dog with a bone or perhaps a dead bird in its teeth. Let's see what it brought back to us, listeners. And kicking things off, this is the name we were just hotly debating on our Options Oddities show over the past few weeks. In fact, we put it out to you folks out there at the end of the day to decide. We had a listener question about selling, I believe they were the June 3 puts for 30 cents when the stock was about $3.50, not that removed from where it is right now. So they were like, you're getting almost 10%, goes out to June. Then, of course, we had a corollary to that, which was the earnings were last week, and they were paying 30 cents for the weekly May 3 puts. So you could have gotten that same 10% if you wanted to sell what was effectively at that point an at-the-money put. And we asked you folks, were you willing to take that gamble to roll them bones? And the answer was, it was exactly split, as I recall, 50% exactly. So our audience could not make up their mind whether they wanted to sell that put or not. It kind of ended up working out both ways because the stock came out after the earnings and got annihilated down to about 270, I believe. So those puts were already at max break even right there. And then the stock then turned around and rallied. So you could have made an argument for both sides winning, because at the end of the day, if you sold the puts, you did all right. But you also had to sweat it a little bit. So you could say both sides of of the trade could have worked. And if you bought them, you could have gotten rid of them for some money as well. So an intriguing one, to say the least. Fast forward to today, listeners. Peloton rallying today, up nearly 20 cents or 5.6%, 362. Dare I say it, the bull is back, Mr. Rock Lobster, because what did our Eye of Sauron spot this morning? Somebody scooping 5,214 of the July 4 calls. They're buying upside and they're paying 45 cents to do it. My goodness, sir, paying well over 10%. So they wouldn't even collect 10% to sell the puts a week ago. Now they're paying over 10 to buy some upside in July. And somebody's liking this trade because it's gone up a total of 21,000 times today out there, listeners. So PTON on the rampage from an options volume perspective today. Worth noting, there has been some other stuff going up around it, including 7,300 of the June 4s. So maybe if you like something maybe a little bit closer to home, a little bit cheaper, these have been trading for around 38 cents, 35 cents. So not that much cheaper, listeners. If you're going to pay 38 cents, you might as well probably pay 45 and get an extra month. But I don't know. Mr. Rock Lobster, we were just debating the merits of this. As I recall, you were kind of lukewarm on selling that at-the-money put with 1 week to go, getting 10%. Now, what do you think? Is this just the mother of all dead cat bounces, or is the fix in? Aren't they ousting their CEO? Isn't there a bunch going on that's wrong over there at Peloton? Why are we rallying, sir? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely dead cat bounce, but 45 cents for these calls, they could be 100 delta pretty fast. I mean, Peloton, he's always like, it has a franchise. It does. People do like it. People do use it. It could do something, So I on this score, I would say, I think it has a decent. These calls, I mean, I think they're reasonable. This is a case where, would you rather buy 1,000 shares and spend $4,000 or buy a 10 lot of calls for $450 in July? I think this is one where I would take the flyer there, and if something really happened, you make some bucks. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think the company goes bankrupt between now and July. So I don't know. I don't think this is terrible. Not terrible. I don't think it's terrible. Call buy call instead of stock trade.
I am making a note here that you love these and want to buy them all for 45 cents. So now you are the theoretical owner of 1,000 of these for 45 cents. By the way, the news today, what is causing this rally and this call palooza? Peloton cut to neutral at Citibank.
I guess because they didn't cut it to outright sell.
They didn't cut it to fire sale at any price. Yes. Let's rally the stock. There you go. So yeah, we went. What a difference a week makes, Mr. Rocklop. Nobody would touch those puts a week ago. And now let's swing for them upside fences in July, paying 45 cents. You like these, listeners? Interesting. Interesting times indeed as we keep on rolling. Peloton, maybe back on the radar again. We shall see. Speaking of being back on the radar, this is the name we haven't talked about. My goodness, it's been some time. I can't remember the last time we talked about VZIO here on the network. Ticker symbol VZIO, trading $10.50. Kind of unched today. On the year, it's been a turbulent year. A year ago, it was trading $8.50, so down about exactly $2. So they're up about almost 25% on the year. They sold off most of the way until Halloween. They got down to about $4.82. So from Halloween to now, they've more than doubled. So a nice little run, including a big pop in February. It went from about $7 all the way up to $11, pretty much in a couple of sessions. So banger earnings, acquisition, something happening out there at that time, which really drove them up. And they've ever since then been kind of hanging out at this price level. So it makes me wonder, maybe are they in play? Were they an acquisition? Because the stock shot up and then it's just kind of hanging out around that same level for a while, which is usually the chart you see for some sort of corporate action. But either way here, what do we got going on out here? This would also maybe back that up as well. Maybe somebody coming in and maybe either not loving the downside prospects, or maybe if there was a deal, maybe they're worried about it coming apart. Either way, somebody coming in this morning, Mr. Rock Lobster, and gobbling up 11,132 of the AUG 10 puts, so $0.50 out of the money puts. They paid 35 cents for these bad boys, so not quite lifting the offer, but pretty darn close. That's about almost a 30 vol. The stock was right here, so the stock hasn't budged since they put this trade on this morning. And they have earnings, by the way. There are earnings coming up in a couple of days, so we'll probably have a good insight into whether these are working out. Of course, if you're worried about earnings, you're gonna buy August. I mean, you could just buy May. Probably a fair amount cheaper. So intriguing stuff out here going all the way to August. So maybe their long-term outlook for VZIO, at least right now, not exactly banging. Mr. Rock Lobster, what say you? Or is there some corporate action going on in VZIO? And then what do you think about these somewhat longer-term puts, sir?
I thought Walmart was buying VZIO.
That could be. That would explain this chart.
Right. This could be the FTC doesn't like Walmart or whatever. That's possible.
Oh yeah, Walmart is buying them for $11.50 in cash. So again, the chart never lies, sir. That now they're $10.50. So I'm guessing something is up with that deal now.
Yeah, I mean, but the puts are still offered at 35 cents. I guess that somebody is looking to protect it, or maybe that a breakup on it. That's all possible. But I don't see how there's antitrust implications because Walmart is a retailer, not a TV seller or TV manufacturer. So I don't know. I don't know why you would buy these, only unless you thought the deal was going to get broken up, which maybe they do. I think it's something to keep an eye on, though. But I wouldn't on a cash settled deal, I would not, generally you don't want to buy too much out of the money juice.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. It's
because they got the money to buy this company.
It's a cash deal. They declared $11.50 in cash, so that should be the price. Why is it $1 lower? Yeah, what's going on out there? Because I could see if it was Walmart stock and Walmart had drifted down or something like that, but we're just getting cash here. So that's kind of a bit of a head scratcher out there. Again,
I mean, they're just going to give TVs away to get people into their showrooms, I guess.
The things that they get upset about with antitrust, like the Coach thing recently, they're going to corner the market on luxury handbags. They get worked up about odd things sometimes and let seemingly more impactful things skate through sometimes. So maybe there is something like that. Maybe listeners, if you're out there following this deal a little bit more closely, you have some insight into why this thing has sold off. Intriguing stuff out there as we take it home, because we got to make some room for Uncle Mike out there today. He's champing at the bit to do his Tony Eason minute. Before we get there, let's go to BGC Group, ticker symbol BGC. This is a financial company out of New York. They used to be Cantor Fitz and a bunch of other things, and they merged together, became this BGC Group entity. 880 up about 60 cents out there today, so a good day for them, about 7.3% on the year. A good year as well, more than doubling. 415 a year ago, 882 today. So banger day out there for BGC. They are apparently printing the money, and apparently, Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody thinks that printing shall continue. Because somebody came in this morning and said, yeah, those Nova 11s, how are they? They said 25 at 30. They said, buy them. I'll pay 29 cents for 5,000 of those bad boys. And they did. Was a 36 vol. The stock was actually a little bit lower, about 18 cents lower. So they caught a little bit of a drift in the stock. They are going to get earnings, but not for a while, not till July 31st. They must have just reported very recently. Hence this kind of recent run here for the stock. Yeah, they popped hard on Friday, so that probably was what was driving it. And then looks like they go all the way out to November because they want to catch the next earnings, apparently, July 31st. So I don't know, banger year for BGC, Mr. Rock Lobster, and apparently somebody thinks the party is continuing, sir.
I would concur with that. I thought there was like a little, was it Jeffries? No, Jeffries just had a huge CEO big payout or something. Maybe there's a little consolidation. What did you say? This is the old Cantor Fitzgerald, so futures and everything. I don't know. Maybe there's a Bitcoin angle. Who knows? But or somebody just wants the trading platform. These are all possible things. So generally, these type of like kind of Wall Street firms, I mean, they don't have kind of like those huge earnings releases that could really drive dollars. So it's kind of a, buying out of the money calls, I think is tough, but doesn't mean it can't happen. Boy, it's also funny. Like I remember, like when I started out, I just remember there being a zillion Wall Street firms, and just over time, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. They have and smaller.
All gobble each other up.
Gobble. So I think this could be a potential takeover target. Just saying, it's that this type of trade has the takeover whiff to me, I have to say.
Are you saying someone?
You would think it would be more of a buy right style with a stock
that looks more like a buy right. I would definitely want to go that way. You're right. So you're right. Are you implying, sir, that someone at a financial firm might have the savvy and the inside information to buy said calls on a takeover of their own firm? Are you implying that, sir?
I'm not pointing fingers, but it has happened in the past. It might be. I think it's a good one to be watched. Maybe pay out in the odd block for all those people that are listeners to that show.
I will put down that you smell shady
whiff,
business.
I have to say, it has the whiff.
I will say you expect skullduggery, so we shall make a note of that as we keep on rolling. Let's see what skullduggery Uncle Mike has for us. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's go out to the land of the Tony Eason Fan Club Membership 1. So he's also the head of it. He is Uncle Mike, sir. What you got in store for us this week?
Well, in terms of Tony Eason, I actually forgot about this statistic on Tony Eason.
He's got more.
He actually known as Champagne Tony from the University of Illinois, his final college football game was the Liberty Bowl in 1982. They played against Alabama. That was also the final game for legendary Alabama coach Bear Bryant. So Bear Bryant's last ever victory was beating the Fighting Illini and Tony Eason. What do you think about that?
I think look out for Uncle Mike's upcoming book, the big book of Tony Eason trivia, Volume 1. Uncle Mike. You got the market cornered, sir. Have at it.
No kidding. So today I want to talk about with covered calls when they are in the money. What are your choices of what you can do? Well, I think number one, the thing that I think you should definitely do is not get angry when your covered calls go in the money. Oftentimes as a trader, you think, oh, shoot, that darn covered call, it went in the money. Why did I do a covered call? I just should have owned the stock. Step one of being a covered call trader is to not have that feeling of anger. Once you overcome that, then you can be a covered call trader. But if you can't overcome that, don't trade covered calls. Just go watch Tony Eason documentaries. Once you overcome that emotion, what you need to do is set up choices of what you can do when the covered call goes in the money and have your choice made before it actually goes in the money. So for example, the first choice that you can make is you can do nothing. Let it sit there and say, you know what? I'm doing the math here. And if I were to get out of this trade right now, sell the stock, get out of the covered call, I could get out of it. But I don't want to do that. I'm just going to let it get called away. Nothing wrong with doing that. You are letting time decay work in your favor. And ultimately, you're getting the stock called away, which you should have been fine with anyway, selling a covered call. That's one thing with which you can do. Now, let's say you want to be a little bit more active with it. You know what? If this covered call actually goes in the money, I don't think it will. I think it's going to stay the same. But if it actually goes in the money, I think it's going to go higher. Well, at that stage, something you can do is you can roll up the call or you can get out of the call for a loss. That's another choice with which you have. Now, the third choice that you have would be to get out of the trade altogether. Meaning if the stock goes in the money and your covered call is at a stage to where, you know what, I really don't want to stick around for this. You can sell the stock and buy to cover the short call. By doing that, you'll likely be profitable, depending on where you started, of course, and the trade's over. Now, the disadvantage of that is that you won't get every little bit of time decay with which you can, but maybe there really wasn't that much time decay left anyway. The way with which, if you are going to close it out, the best way to look at it, in my opinion, is to set up the trade, just close it out, the stock and the covered call. So let's say that you're in XYZ stock and the stock's trading at 102 and you're short the 100 covered call. Well, the most you're going to get out of that for is 100. You won't, because there's still going to be some type of time decay in that, but it's mathematically impossible for you to get out for more than 100. And if you do, then there's some type of weird arbitrage thing going on, and enjoy it, but it's likely not going to be the case. The way with which you can evaluate it is say, okay, what is the current price of that stock short call combination? And let's say it's at $97 because the call itself is worth $5. Well, then you know you're giving up $3 of time decay. If you just wait it out and the stock stays above 100, then you're going to get $3 more in time decay because you'll get called away at 100. But let's say it's at $99.86. You know what? It's only 14 more cents of time decay that's available. It's not a lot of juice, and I still have 2 more months till the covered call expires. That might be something to consider getting out of, because for that 14 cents, is it really worth it? And I'm just making up numbers just so everybody knows. But the point is that if your covered call goes in the money, those are your 3 choices, in my opinion. And if you don't like those choices, well, look into selling call spreads against stocks and not calls. And that is the strategy block for today in honor of Champagne Tony.
All right, now it's time for us to keep on rolling and go around the block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, time for us to tell you what we're keeping an eye on until our next episode. Also, time to tell you what you folks have on the brain with our questions of the week. Last week, we asked you folks, heading into our big OIC rundown, which will be hitting the network soon, what do you want us to talk about? The impact of zero-day options, 24-hour stock and option trading, the options volume surge or other. And it was neck and neck. Zero-day took it early on with 75% of the early voting. Then as the week went on, the 24-hour stuff kicked in, ended up taking it, 45.8%. Zero DTE number 2, 41.7%. The volume surge, 8.3%. 4.2% of you writing in for others. A lot of you writing in for the Bitcoin ETF options. Maybe not the best news on that front, but again, you can hear it for yourselves when I put these questions to the people who make the decisions. We do it for you folks out there. This week, we have kind of a twofer on it. Related to our content from last week, we're asking you, hey, do you folks think we'll have listed zero-day options in your favorite single names? So your Teslas, your Apples, your NVIDIAs, before the end of the year? Yes, no, or I don't trade zero DTE. And then as a fun, let's say, aside, a fun little debate we're having as well here, inspired by the show today. So this is the flash poll. It's going to be running for a few hours or so. We say, hey, Tim Cook's buying Apple, Warren Buffett's selling it. Which side of that trade would you rather be on? And early on, like I said, it was all Warren Buffett. How is that shaping up now? Let's go out to the shores of Maine. Mr. Rock Lobster, first off, what are you thinking about the which side? I think I have a feeling I know which side of the Warren Buffett-Tim Cook trade would you rather be on, but which way do you think our audience is going now that it's been live for a few minutes? B, do you think we'll have listed zero-day options in your Apples and NVIDIAs and stuff before the end of the year? And then C, what are you keeping an eye on till the Thursday show?
Oh, okay. So I want the Warren Buffett side, and I think the audience is taking the Warren Buffett side, even though there's a lot of Apple fans. 2, I don't know if they're going to get zero DTE through the process by the end of the year, but that process will definitely have started, and we will have an answer. So I'm kind of hedging a little.
So the answer would be no. Then we're saying, will they be listed this year? The answer would be no.
Yeah, they're not going to be listed this year, but I will say they will be listed next year for sure.
Interesting. What are you keeping an eye on till the Thursday show, sir?
We are very close to 5,200. Too close not to get there at this point. So 5,200, and if we could get to the 12 handle in VIX by the end of the week, we got just some Fed talking heads. So it could be an interesting kind of that little gap. That little everybody missed the 5,000 buying opportunity, so they'll come in at 5,200 and take it up higher.
Yeah, that's always a good trade. I missed it. I got to buy it now. Buy it near the all-time highs. Mr. Uncle Mike, same questions for you. 3 for A. Which side of that trade would you rather be on right now? The Apple trade, the Tim Cook side, or the Warren Buffett side? B, do you think we'll see these listed? They have to be trading before the end of the year, single name, zero DTE options. And then C, what are you keeping an eye on until the Thursday episode?
In a rare instance, I'm actually going to disagree with the Rock Lobster today. That does not happen very often.
Tony Eason facts and disagreement. Uncle Mike spitting fire today.
No kidding. I'd actually rather be a buyer of Apple right now, just for the simple reason that I've said on this show for over 1,000 episodes, I don't bet against Apple. That's why. It's never been a good idea, unless it's maybe for the short term, but over the long term, don't bet against Apple. In terms of will they be listed by the end of the year? I think they're going to find a way to do it because it's going to make too much money for them not to do it. Process schmashus, they're going to find a way to get them out there because it just makes too much money. That's my opinion. And then in terms of what I am watching for the rest of the week, seeing if we can get back to all-time highs, we're 5,200. Okay, so I guess I am in agreement with the Rock Lobster on 5,200, but I'm watching to see if we can get another 100 points this week, which is definitely possible in today's market. Seeing if we can get to new all-time highs again in the S&P and continuing to watch 4.5% on the 10-year note.
There you go. And folks want more Uncle Mike in their lives. Where should they go? What should they do?
Check out stcharleswealth.com. Make an appointment to talk to me. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners.
All right, and Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you. If folks want all sorts of goodness from the pit in their lives, where should they go? What should they do?
888-TRADE-01. If you heard this here show, you can get 10% off anything at Option Pit. So if you want to put your learning on how to trade these option things, come and check us out.
There you go. Optionpit.com is the place to go. Listen, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole of Tony Eason trivia. This is actually Tony Franklin. My goodness, Uncle Mike just going deep with his archives of trivia here for, yes, the kicker, $1.5 million. Uncle Mike, kicker trivia, Patriots trivia. Who knew? That's why you got tuned into the show every week. Speaking of which, our pro listeners enjoyed the show today. They thought Tosaw was a good jokester, Option God. They want to know what category would the Rock Lobster actually win in trivia. I already said it. It's probably main trivia and or woodworking. Those are probably his two strengths. And so they were enjoying it out there. A couple of them had the name of the Patriots QB as well. If you want to join the pro for yourselves, join that good group of people, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Hang out if you're in there. We'll be back in a little bit. If you want more content in your lives, it's a good day for you. We're coming back in a bit with the land of crypto. Well, I'll be joined by some fun guests to break down all this. What's going on with Mara? Why is it popping so hard? What's going on out there? Let's find out. Coming up on the Crypto Rundown in a little bit. And then I heard a rumor, if you want more Uncle Mike in your life, well, then you're in luck. Because we got him joining us to tackle all of your options Qs tomorrow on a pro Q&A session. Again, got to be on the pro to get that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Back again on Wednesday, going live with the old OBC. We were live to tape last week, of course, because I was down in Asheville. But now we're back holding court. What crazy options topic will light the internet on fire this week? Like the whole zero-sum game thing did? Well, I guess we'll find out on Wednesday. And then back again on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Most options trading platforms are commission-free, and there are some that don't charge per-contract fees. Public.com goes a step further. When you trade options on Public, there are no commissions, no per-contract fees, and you get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. That means it costs less than $0 per transaction. In other words, instead of paying to place options trades, you literally earn money, and that money can add up fast. If you trade 1,000 option contracts on Public, you'll earn up to $180 in rebates. 10,000 contracts? Up to almost $1,200. It's pretty obvious why NerdWallet recently gave options trading on Public 5 out of 5 stars. Because Public really stands out for the cost of its options trades. Their words, not ours. If you want to start paying less than $0 to trade options, check out Public.com and get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. Paid for by Public Investing. Options not suitable for all investors and carry significant risk. Full disclosures in podcast description. U.S. members only. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.